on any products
Then I would just tell them.
you're comfortable with.
Because it's just like communicating with anybody. You're eventually gonna find that person that wants to book it now, but I'm following up with those people that I told I would
Right.
get in touch with after conference. So,
Right.
Want the new stuff.
You were starting to say something about direct ship before, that you're in the direct ship program.
yes, okay, so I'm in the direct ship program. Is anybody else in here? You guys, it is the best thing flipping ever. And it's gonna rock. I'm sorry, but those of us that opted in to do it, we're gonna have a little bit more of an advantage to those that didn't. When Pampered Chef gives you the opportunity to be a part of something, yeah, there are little hiccups, but you know what? That's why they ask you to help and test it. Because as soon as we know what that discontinue list is, you better believe we're gonna be letting people know, because even it shows, when they place their order, whoa, they're gonna have it in 4 to 6 days. So do you think we're probably gonna get rid of a lot of stuff on that discontinue list a lot faster now?
Yes.
You better believe it.
And it doesn't matter if the host takes forever to decide or
Nope.
no one's.
Does not matter. And if the host doesn't close with you by the 15th of the next month, what happens?
Change the date.
You just change the date, so now she'll have that month's benefits. She could technically leave her show open for who knows how long, but the only person it held up was the hostess.
And you know what I call those? Extremely part-time consultants.
Okay, so, but let me go back to my calendar one more time, from a question that Dina had asked. So what I do is in my calendar, and I have done this for 18 years, because for me, I am that number person of, I've gotta know what my show number is, because what does home office ask you when you call in? What's your show number, or who's your hostess? So in the top left corner, I make a circle and I write in there what the show number is. I put a star under it, because that host is my star, always. I write what time the show is, and if I gave them a packet at the party, I write host packet, or has packet, excuse me. So I know when I look in my calendar, they've already got their packet, because remember, if I met this person last season, I didn't have the new catalogs, so they don't have their packet yet. Then I write in all their information, so that way when I'm in the car and I call home office and they're like, oh, well, do you know so-and-so's email address or what show number it was, it's all right here in my planner. And I always ask my host for their cell number. I don't say anything about a home number. I only get cell phone numbers from people. And then I write a number 1 and number 2 and I circle them, and that's my recipes that we're making. Because how many of you have ever had somebody come back to you, maybe it was 2 years later, that has said, hey, you did so-and-so's party and you made this really good thing. Can you give me the recipe for that? I'm sorry, I am not gonna remember that at all, unless for some reason something happened at that party that it's gonna stick out in my mind. Usually it wasn't a good thing.
Like
Something burns. Yeah, like lightning struck the transformer box. There was a light show behind me. But I'll write in there what we did. If the show is not, so in this instance, this party, the show was not at the host house, so I write where it was at. So that way I remember, so when I follow up, okay, because a lot of times I'll go back through my calendar if that person did not rebook or didn't say anything about wanting to do another show. I might call her and say, hey Cindy, just want to let you know I just got back a few weeks ago from National Conference and I'm really excited to show off and share the new fall items. Would you possibly be interested in having another show here before Christmas? We could do it down at the bar again. Whatever.
At the bar.
Sorry, that was funny.
I know, but a lot of ladies do it at this one. And then at the very bottom, I always put who the person was they booked from. Because in my host coaching calls, I say, hey Dina, just wanted to remind you that Nancy is really excited for your upcoming party because she gets whatever she wants half price. You did remember to invite her, didn't you? Because do you know how many hostesses would say to me, oh my God, I didn't invite her because I figured she got everything from her party. And I say, oh, no, quite the contrary. She's saving that wonderful half price item to be able to get from your show. Plus, you already have an order before your party has started because you know she wants something half price. Then the last thing I put in there is what the show URL code is, because if you guys don't know this in your website, and if you don't know about this, I'm not gonna talk about it a ton, but you can actually change your hostess's URL code. I make it significant to that host. I always put her first name and the date of the party. Sometimes you gotta be a little tricky and you gotta capitalize the first name and then do the numbers or whatever, but
Another thing I heard was, instead of the dates, because you change the dates occasionally, is to use their name and the show number.
yep, or you can do name and show number. Absolutely, that's a great idea.
And I don't have, well, I always, something that's very consistent, so I do the same thing over and over again, so I don't have to write mine down. So whenever they call and say, what is that show link, I can always just, blah, blah, blah.
Like what?
Okay.
What do you do?
What do you mean?
Their first letter of their name and their last name. So like if it's Tina Nake, it's TNAQUIN 16. So I know in 2016 is when she hosted her show. And so when she calls me and says, hey, give me that link, or if I'm traveling, I can usually go https blah 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 hamperschef.go/TNAQUIN 16. There you go.
You don't even need to do
You don't need
HTTPS.
HTTPS.
Well, I didn't think so either, but I've had huge issues with that. Because I have this little neat thing that I actually give them, and I write it down, and if they copy it www, it never works.
No, you can't put www,
Or
you
nothing,
just write
pamperchef.com, and it still didn't work for them.
No, I did.
Really?
So so I called tech,
I do
every
www
time.
and it works
yeah,
every
so I
time.
called tech support on it, and anyways, but so yeah. So I'm
Okay.
finding when I write it.
So
and
what
I
if they
do
have 2 shows that year?
Then it's,
I do the mom,
One
I
and
do
two.
the
I
mom
do their first and last
and
name.
the, and.
But just something that's consistent, like I never change it from one host to another. Like Kim's saying, I just have a set standardized.
Katie, how do you keep track of your recruiting leads?
I have a post-it note pad, like one this size, and I write down the names of the people that have been interested, and I stick it on my desk right next to my computer screen, and I keep it on there until they either join or they tell me absolutely no, I changed my mind.
And I asked you earlier about this, and I said you put the phone number there so that you can call them easily, and you told me, no,
I write down how they want to be contacted, like what she does. She usually calls, but what I ask everybody, and this is for my host too, how do you want me to contact you? Call, text, Facebook.
and you primarily use Facebook.
Primarily, that's what most people want me to use. I do have a couple people who just wanted email, and so I do that. And then if I can't get a hold of them via those, then I'll pick up the phone and just be like, hey, I just wanted to reach out and touch base with you because I left you a couple messages. Did you get them? Is there anything, and touch base with them. But I have that list, and then when there's enough crossed out, then I just transfer them to another one, sticky note, and put it up there. So I'm always sane.
Okay, and you have recruited 116 people in a short amount of time. How many years have you been in the business?
5.
5 years, 116 people in 5 years. Where do you meet most of these people?
At shows.
Okay,
At shows, and that's either online shows or cooking shows, because I have recruits from online shows too.
hooray Dina, thanks for asking those great questions.
Katie, I have a question for you. So, do you think that Smarties ask questions when you have, a lot of cooking shows in your area and you're recruiting a lot of people in your area, if they're having problems getting bookings then? Or do you recruit, do you have a huge area that you do shows in, or?
I asked my husband earlier, I said, how many people are in Helena, Montana? And I forgot the number already, it was like 40,000 or something like that. I'm part-time. I homeschool my boys, and I do 4 to 6 live cooking shows, and the rest are online. So I don't have the time to cover 40,000 people. And so no, there hasn't been a problem, because the other people that have joined my team, they have jobs too, they're not in the area. I have a new gal on my team who's like an hour and a half away, so she's got this whole other town that she's in.
But you've moved too, like you were in Japan and then you were in
Montana.
Oh, you went right to Montana after Japan? Oh, okay. I thought you moved somewhere else.
So you still have people in Japan on your team, right?
I always like to use, who was my first director, who was Wendy Brown. When Wendy started Pampered Chef, there were 4 people on her block that sold Pampered Chef. So when the question comes up of, is the area oversaturated, or is there enough business for all consultants in the area? There is business out there for everybody, because everybody knows somebody who knows somebody different. Yes, ultimately, it might be some of the same people, but same aspect with your shows, you know, or as that new consultant becomes a consultant, you've got, I mean, we live in a world of where there's a sea. Take advantage of land and water.
Everyone has different relatives. They have different, just because their neighbors are the same, different churches, different sports,
Sarah and I live a block and a half away.
different doctors, and I've even heard the, you know, if there was one fast food restaurant in your town, would it help business for that restaurant or hurt it? And the answer is it would hurt it, because nobody's gonna wait in line that long to get a burger, or you know, or whatever it is they went in for. And that place is gonna get run down, and they're not gonna keep the workers there because they're working too hard. There's such thing as too much business, and with everybody knowing different people.
We had 13 people in one babysitting co-op that we recruited that also Pampered Chef, and we all had business.
And you know what? I have recruited, and forgive me, I don't know the exact number, at least 5 people, maybe more, in my town. And I still, at vendor events and out in town when I'm talking to people, I still hear, I haven't been to a party in years.
Ladies, I just did a show last week where there were 21 people at the show, counting the host, and 18 of those 21 people had said they hadn't been to a show forever. They didn't think Pampered Chef was even around anymore.
My last show, somebody said, you know, the last time I went to a show was about 10 years ago.
So Katie, do you have recruits that don't qualify?
Yes.
And Connie, do you have shows that don't hold?
Oh, absolutely. I have a business just like everybody else does. Cancellations happen, dates change.
I have no problem with kidnappers, because if they end up happy, then I end up happy. And you know, I always tell them, just give me the 30 days. I'm not asking you to marry me. I promise you're not gonna hurt my feelings at the end of 30 days. If, you know,
What are you talking about?
life happens. Except for you. She's mine.
So then your ratio for people qualifying is high. You have a lot of people that qualify. So what do you get? I guess what do you get? How do you get people to seal the deal to sign, and how do you get people to continue on? Do you know what I mean? How do
I get them to seal the deal?
Yeah, how do you get them to sign? What do you
Seal the deal.
Right away
Do you know what I mean?
After you marry them, then
After I
Yeah. Yes, I know that. But you
After
know
they
what I
sign the marriage agreement, what's the next step?
mean. Do you know what I mean?
So
you know?
first, I create the kits are amazing. They're a fantastic deal. Once they want those and they recognize the deal, then I talk to them about what they want out of it. The biggest mistake I think that I've seen that some people make is it's not about you, and it's not about what you get from recruiting them. It's about them. What do they want from it? So that's why I said with kidnappers, seriously, if that is going to be their sole bless and release, they got what they want, they're happy. And you know what? I've had a kidnapper who, even while she was still a consultant, had me do a show in her husband's name. She didn't want any part of the business. I'm still her consultant. I'm still getting, like, she's still one of my favorite hostesses, and she has amazing shows. You know, and then
Did you know she was a kidnapper when she was signing up?
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, and it's okay. I'm not gonna, I mean, she's an adult, she can make her own choices. She's gonna get the kit whether I give her my blessing or not. You know what I'm saying?
And honestly, ladies, kind of look at your sales the same way. Even if you connect with that host, if that host